You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Recruiting season is cranking up as we head toward next Wednesday, the February signing period. Our guy Shay Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger, good enough to join us now for a couple of minutes, as he does every Tuesday. Shady, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing awesome. We appreciate the time as always. Hey, let me start with the news from this weekend with Jabori Antoine committing to LSU for the class of 2025. On3 has him as the highest rated among all the recruiting services. How did this come together, and what's LSU getting here in Antoine?
Yeah, we've got him all the way up at the number 3 corner in the country, a top 20 player overall. That gives them 4 top 20 overall prospects committed now out of the 9 commitments for the 2025 class. So if you can't guess, that is the number 1 recruiting class in America. He only bolstered it. They were already number 1 before that because they've got 3 5-stars committed, all of them number 1 at their position at quarterback, running back, receiver, and no other school right now has more than 1 5-star committed. So that's an impressive early haul for LSU for sure. But getting Antoine, I thought, was big, really for multiple reasons. One, obviously, he's an extremely talented player, number player in Louisiana. Like I said, top 3 corner in the country, 6'1", 175 range kid as a junior in high school. So a very good-looking corner prospect, and then that quickly goes to, well, that's probably one of 2 of the biggest positions of need you have on defense, in addition to probably the interior of the defensive line. So rebuilding that cornerback room and bringing Corey Raymond back as the secondary coach and, the guy who's going to be in charge or tasked with building the room back up, that's what you want to see it start with, keeping the best guys in Louisiana at home. And that would kind of be the third layer of this for me is, you're keeping one of Louisiana's best at home, but you also went to Westgate to do it. And that's where Derek Williams, the number 1 safety in the country, a year ago, went to Texas out of Westgate. And Danny Lewis at tight end, right? When Brian Kelly and the staff got hired, he went to Alabama. So they signed Demarion Johnson, a D lineman, out of Westgate this past December, and now getting Antoine on board is huge. And look, throw in Dominic McKinley, who was committed to A&M out of Acadiana. He flips to LSU. And it feels like kind of one area that LSU's never had any struggles with, the Acadian area as a whole in terms of recruiting, that they've lost some guys in recent years, and now they're sort of punching back and keeping these guys at home.
Shay, how big, you mentioned Corey Raymond, how big of an impact is this staff that we've all talked about, right, their recruiting prowess? How big of an impact is this staff having in the early returns?
Huge, and I think we're already seeing it because the guy like Jabori Antoine called Corey Raymond icing on the cake, said that it was LSU, Texas. He felt good about LSU, really liked the staff, personnel-wise, it was in place, and was curious to see what the defensive hires were. And then when Raymond got named the secondary coach, didn't take long for him to say, all right, I am ready to shut it down and commit to LSU. But even beyond that, Blake Baker and Peoples and having Bo Davis back on the D-line, and then even Jake Olson, who's the youngest member of the staff in coaching at safeties, the youngest member of the defensive side of the staff, coaching safeties. He was there this weekend for their Cajun Bash recruiting weekend, and the safeties I talked to, who a number of them are highly ranked here in Louisiana, lit up about him, said he was awesome, vibed well. So it seems like even a guy like that, who a lot of people aren't familiar with, is someone that recruits kind of immediately gravitated towards. But I think for me, and not taking away anything from any of them, but it's just because they're 2 LSU grads who know the lay of the land and are old enough and have done it for a long time, that Raymond and Bo Davis being back is a pretty big deal. And we've quickly seen them, because they're coming from schools that recruit high-level players, offer all the guys that they were on at the other schools and kind of just pick right back up in a new uniform. So I think that bodes well for recruiting in terms of, hey, how do you quickly transition from one staff to the next? Well, these guys have been recruiting the caliber of player that you want. So they kind of just keep recruiting, and now they've got a different polo on when they do it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about DJ Pickett as well. Number 1 safety in America for the class of 2025. He's out of Florida, and he's visiting LSU today, Tuesday, correct? Can you fill in some deets here, how this all is coming together?
Yeah, DJ Pickett is a kid out of Zephyr Hills, which is probably about 30 minutes outside of Gainesville. So Corey Raymond had been on him at Florida. Florida's been kind of considered a front runner, if not the team to beat, for DJ Pickett being a Sunshine State kid. But now that Raymond's here, it was, as I said, quickly getting back in touch with everybody he was recruiting previously that he really liked in this 2025 class. We're talking about the kids who, the 2024 class off signing day next week, and then the page is completely turned to all these guys who are juniors and will be seniors in the fall. And Pickett is ranked as the number one safety, but I can tell you that LSU likes him at corner. And 6'3", 175, kid who runs track and, long arms, can turn his hips. That's kind of exactly what Corey Raymond looks for in corners. So we're also seeing him go back to, if you really look across the board between Antoine, Pickett, and a number of others, they've reoffered and been on now that Raymond's been on staff a couple of weeks. It's the 6'1", 2, 3 corners who can turn and run and also run track in the spring, which was something we kind of got used to seeing during Raymond's tenure here. But yes, Pickett will be in town tonight. He'll be here all day tomorrow. So kind of quickly seeing guys start to visit before the dead period hits next week.
Shay Dixon's with us on 3, the Bengal Tiger. It's just such an important recruiting part of the recruiting calendar right now. Let me ask about, before we get to obviously the February signing date, let me ask about Terry Bussey. Any update there?
Yeah, he's really, I would say, the only guy that we've seen, unless they make a late offer, that is kind of still in play here for the late signing day, and that's not out of the norm. I mean, they normally sign 1 or 2 kids in February now, with most everybody signing in December, let alone the transfer portal, giving you additions in December, January, and really beyond that. But they've got Dominic McKinley committed, and he'll sign next week, and then it's Bussey. And Bussey gets in town tomorrow morning. They've already used their official visit. That happened before he committed to A&M in September. So he'll be in town, I think, overnight. So you've got a day or two to entertain him and his family and get a feel for, hey, look, you're a week away from signing. Are you sticking with A&M? Or, what are the realistic options or possibilities that you might flip? And LSU's been a team that's been right there all along, from before he committed to A&M to him committing to A&M in September and then remaining committed but not signing in December. Whenever Jimbo got fired and they were hiring their whole new staff, he just said, hey, look, I'll wait it out till February and see what the staff's like. But most of the buzz coming out of this new College Station staff led by Mike Elko is that they feel good about holding on to him. The only 2 teams that are really even in the mix now are Georgia, who replaced Bama because Traveris Robinson's at Georgia now, and that was his main recruiter at Alabama. So he visited there this past weekend, and then he'll be back here at LSU. And it's a whole new defensive staff for him to get to know tomorrow, between Raymond and Blake Baker as a DC and Jake Olson as a safeties coach. This is a guy who's ranked as the number 1 athlete in the country, but most people like him on defense, which would mean corner, safety, nickel. I mean, he's athletic enough to play any of them and has got the size for it. So I think we'll have a lot more clarity in terms of, hey, does LSU really have a shot here with this new staff in the 11th hour once he spends, a day or 2 on campus this week?
Well, they're putting a button here, Shay, on the 2024 high school class. What about when you look at potential portal ads? And I know we're waiting for the portal cycle after spring, but for example, I know Bo Davis offered Jalil Muhammad, a JUCO defensive lineman. What's the latest there, or other potential additions outside of the high school guys they're looking at?
Right. They've already signed one, a JUCO kid, defensive tackle, Sean Washington, a New Orleans native, who went to Warren Easton, then went to Georgia, and then was at East Mississippi, and they got him on board. Now, do they add another? They have offered Jalil Muhammad, who you mentioned, he goes to Garden City in Kansas, and is a guy who's picked up a number of offers. LSU seems to be the one team that's kind of really on him. Others are, I've seen a number of teams kind of pop up as, hey, we could get visits, but since he doesn't graduate until the spring, he doesn't have to do anything right now as a JUCO guy, so he could kind of wait it out if he doesn't want to sign next week. We'll see what he does regardless. But, yes, they would take a guy like that. I just haven't seen any other portal action, or I guess any portal action from them, given Muhammad's a JUCO kid. But most of the guys, I guess by the time Bo Davis and this new staff got here, most of the D tackles, and there weren't many that would be considered elite, but guys that had entered were already on board with other schools. So I think LSU's hoping that, hey, look, the spring window is going to be more active than it ever has been in the prior few years of it existing. Do guys pop in, and from there, can we make a move on them? I would be very surprised if they don't come out. I would be surprised if they don't come out of the spring window with at least one defensive tackle addition beyond what a guy like Muhammad does. I just think that they want or know that they need a little bit more proven depth there.
Agreed. Last thing for you, Shay, your time always appreciated. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Austin Thomas. I know LSU hasn't formally announced his return, but it's been reported. I know you've had everybody's got it. So what does having Austin Thomas back mean for this program?
Well, I think it's another guy who comes back, much like when they hired Frank and when they hired Corey and Bo Davis even, that knows the lay of the land at LSU, has been here multiple times, and has got a good feel for what the lay of the land is in the SEC. I mean, he's worked at a number of SEC schools from A&M till his most recent stop at Ole Miss being with Kiffin, and there he was involved in everything from football to the collective. So now that you've added this NIL wrinkle over the past 2 seasons, he comes with, a kind of an experience and a lot of intel into how that works. And the Ole Miss collective, the Grove collective, has been one of the more notable ones that's been out there. And we've certainly seen what Ole Miss did in the portal this cycle and yielded some pretty good results. So I think with his hand kind of on a little bit of everything, that he's a guy that can help, run a building or oversee, hires or, kind of just day-to-day stuff of what happens in football beyond the games you play on Saturday. And now that there is so much going on from NIL, the portal, retaining players, the NFL draft, recruiting, building out your board, coaching changes, it just seems like we're adding more and more to it. So having guys like that beyond a director of player personnel, whether you call it a GM or some other role, but having people who are experienced that can kind of help oversee things and be another voice for you, I think is always a good thing. And really, he's one of the names that's more synonymous with it, given that when LSU named him GM, he was one of the first college GMs out there.
Shay Dixon, On3, the Bengal Tiger, on Twitter at Shay Dixon. Y'all give him a follow. He's the best. Shay, we appreciate you as always, man. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk next Tuesday before signing day.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.